It's silver for Canada. Oh boy, the Americans, 4 straight gold medal wins over Canada. That's the story of the day. That's what we're going to be diving into. Hey, how are you? It's Cody Jansen, Adam Ermintrout with you. World Hockey Report live, coming to you 12-ounce sports, Zingo TV, channel 761. A little bit of a different feel to this one. I'm not going to lie. Best tournament in the world. Canada did not show up for us Canadians in that gold medal game. The Americans were great. We got to give them credit. And hey, that's what we're going to be talking about on the show. Absolutely loaded. We're just going to try connect here with Barstool Jordy. Might have to do it on the fly. Might have to get him on, at around 11:20ish or so. We're going to be working on that. Then we got Stephen Ellis coming up. Jason Clark as well. You've heard of Devin Levi, but have you heard of the man who coached him in Carleton Place? We're going to talk to him, kind of get some dirt on Devin Levi. What was he like? What were the scouts saying? Go through some of that then. 11:40, Colton Tubert's coming on the show. 2-time World Juniors. He's got a gold. He's got a silver. Oh, now we've got Jordy on the line. What's up, Jordy? How are you?
What's good? You guys came across my phone as spam risk, so I'm a little worried about how this conversation is going to go. I don't know. Don't know if you guys are still a little salty or not, but.
Oh man. Okay. Well, there you go. That's a fair reason. But, buddy, I mean, let's just dive right into the tournament here. We don't have a ton of time, but where does this rank among all-time USA wins for you? I mean, what a tournament for the Americans. This is arguably one of the best teams of all time. I mean, you've covered enough of it. Where does it rank for you?
Yeah, so, obviously the 17 tournament for me was a lot of fun. That was my first time really covering a tournament, but you don't want these games to end in a shootout. So, that one always is a little, even though Troy Terry was an absolute beautician that whole tournament, that one kind of goes down in the rankings for me. I was a little too young for 97, a little too young for 04, so this goes right up there with 2010.
Jordy, what's the hype like in America this morning? I mean, if Canada wins, it's a big deal up here, but we're not getting the ESPN, the Bleacher Report. Whitney's not posting videos about Canada. What's the hype like in America right now?
Yeah, it's there are websites that are talking about the tournament that I don't even know if they know that the tournament had existed before. I have buddies on Instagram posting about it, and I'm like, I know for a fact that you guys didn't watch until the gold medal game, but yeah, obviously there weren't too many people here clued in as the tournament was going, but when gold's on the line, and especially against Canada, that puts the eyes on the TV for sure.
Well, what a tournament to, get some people into it with. Now, let's start off with, that very first game, though. Spencer Knight kind of lays an egg. I'm not going to blame it all on him, but he didn't play good against Russia. Were you worried at all about, them going back tonight? Because I said it from the start and talking on multiple shows. I don't know if Dustin Wolf's the gold medal goalie. I think Spencer Knight was their guy who they had to go back to if they wanted a chance to win.
Yeah, I definitely have some things that I need to delete from the internet after that Russia game. I did mention that I think that USA should think about going with Dustin Wolf. I have a bias towards Everett Silvertip's goalies, just as a huge Carter Hart fan here in Philly. So I figured, all right, Carter Hart has time, so I was like, okay, maybe Dustin Wolf could be that guy. But I mean, what an unbelievable bounce back by Spencer Knight. Dumb and Dumber just totally redeemed himself.
So I'm not going to toot my own horn too much, but I picked USA to win. I picked Trevor Zegras to win MVP. Do you agree that he was just so much better than anybody else in the tournament? Maybe other than Tim Stützle, but even as a Canadian, he was just head and shoulders above everybody else, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Stützle is, obviously he's an incredible player, but I think that maybe it's just a language barrier thing, but he wasn't able to play, with the same swagger, confidence, cockiness that Zegras was, there was a time in the Russia game where Zegras went for the Michigan. Obviously it failed, but, you could tell right there, that's a kid who was just kind of, laying it all out there and saying, listen, I don't care about any of you guys. I'm going to be the best player in this tournament. So, I mean, I think that swagger, that cockiness, you saw that right before the game, talking about, Canada not being tested 5-on-5. And, I mean, he lived up to all that. So
he backed it up. He was right. I mean, Canadians are hating on him right now, but I'm like, he's the best player there, and he backed it up. Like, I love the swagger on him.
He looks like an absolute stallion too.
Yeah, and I think, he's from that, New York, Connecticut area where I think like people from there, they kind of they thrive in that position of being hated. Like they're able to feed off of that. So, I think that might have been a little calculated on his end. I think he's a kid who would probably embrace the hate a little bit.
Jordy, we only got 30 seconds left or so, but I got to get one more off you. I mean, the garbage can, the pail, whatever you want to call it, the barrel. Are you fully on board with this? Like, I think I've heard this story before, actually, but my bullshit meter might have been going off a little bit. Adam was the pissed off one, so all shitty tweets were his. But I had the yellow warning going around too.
Come on, boys. You don't have to be so sensitive up there, okay? Like, maybe there's a little bit more to it than just a barrel, but so what? It's a game. Have fun. Don't be sensitive. It's a rivalry.
Jordy, you're the best man.
I'm more mad that we lost to a team that had to use a barrel for like their motivation. Like, that's what I'm more mad about. But awesome. Thanks, Jordy. We'll have to get you on again to talk Flyers.
Absolutely.
Jordy,
thanks for having me, boys.
You're the man. Thanks for hopping on. Barstool Jordy right there. Go follow him on Twitter at Jordy Barstool. Awesome blogger too. I mean, if there's one guy I'm reading throughout the tournament, it's him. Just, he's got that realism too. You can really connect with it. All right, quick commercial break here. We're going to come back. Hockey writer and podcaster Stephen Ellis. Let's talk Team Canada. It's World Hockey Report, 12-ounce sports, Zingo TV, channel 761.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Hey guys, Glenn Metropolitan here with Rivero Hockey, NHL alumni, 22 years professional hockey. I'm here to talk about the Merc 350, the lightest stick on the market. I've been using it for a couple months now. So impressed by the balance, the weight of it. The blade is very stiff. Great feel, low kick point on the shaft. Consistency is amazing. Comparing it to all my other sticks that I use in my pro career, this would be one that I'd be very confident with going into a game. Give it a shot if you get a chance. Take care.
At Amazon, we're pretty good at getting things done. We're pretty good at solving problems. COVID-19 is the biggest challenge we've had to face. But challenges are what motivate us. Like flying masks to our employees around the world. We're doing everything we can to get you what you need, and doing everything we can to keep our people safe. I'm former Navy pilot Sarah Rhodes, and I'm proud to lead our Amazon Air network.
World Hockey Report live. Cody Jansen, Adam Urbantrout with you here on 12-ounce sports. Joined now by Stephen Ellis, the man with all the drawings, probably your favorite follow on Twitter through World Junior time. Stephen, how's it going?
It's doing great. It's weird waking up and not having any games to watch today.
Yeah, I know. It's now we got a week. Yeah, it's a week from today until the NHL starts. So, I guess we can catch up on some sleep that we probably missed. Let's dive into the tournament, though, because obviously it was a thrilling finish. I mean, no matter what side of the fence you're on or border you're on, that USA-Canada game, it was pretty damn good. Let's not kid ourselves here. But I wanted to ask you, because no fans in the building, I mean, you've seen enough tournaments in Canada. How big of a part do you think that played for the Canadians not having that extra boost, that extra jolt of a home crowd?
Yeah, like even when Canada plays elsewhere, they're essentially the home team with the fan reaction. So it's not like we can go say that other teams would have that same advantage elsewhere. We know what Canada could do, but being in Canada, not having those people, that was definitely hard for the players. But at the same time, like they were saying throughout the tournament, it's like, we're focused on the games, we're focused on that, and they've spent a long time in their careers playing in empty arenas, whether it's at a young age or even a junior hockey in some places. So but yeah, you could tell like this was a Canadian team that just, they simply got outplayed. It wasn't like Canada played bad. I think if they put that effort against any other team, it's a different story. But the Americans just came together. They blocked the shots. The goaltending was great. Everything came together for the Americans when it needed to. And so I don't know how much better it could have been for Canada, but maybe if they were able to score on a goal and get that crowd going, maybe we're talking about a different story. But simply, you can't win without scoring goals.
Steven, what do you think Canada's downfall was in this tournament? Because me personally, I tweeted out 3 days ago that they had no chemistry amongst their forwards, and I mean, you look at their points and they're kind of tainted with the 16-0, or 16-2, 10-0. Just how big of a factor do you think not having the forward chemistry kind of killed them this tournament?
Well, I think the one thing was just the guys that were kind of the goal scorers of this team, in theory, like Cole Perfetti and Jack Quinn, just didn't really step up in a way they needed to score goals. And but I still think that everyone kind of really subscribed to a two-way mentality, and it really worked. I thought for Quinton Byfield didn't get a lot of points outside of that 6-point night, but I thought that he actually had a fantastic tournament. If you look at the fact that he was never known for being a physical guy, and he was in this tournament. He added some elements to his game. So I think there was a lot of things to be looking forward to with that forward group. But I think that, yeah, like they had a lot of points in that game against the Americans. They were the better team and they had the opportunities. They just weren't getting the high danger scoring chances because the Americans did a good job of kind of limiting that. But for a team that rolled the four lines, I was kind of hoping we'd see some more scoring throughout the lineup. And I know Tomasino was a guy that early in the tournament, everyone's like, well, look at him play. And then we didn't really see much of him in the second half of that tournament. And other guys were, there could have been some better chemistry, but they kept the lines together for the most part. And it was just a lot of skilled guys. But there was also those games, like look at that game against Germany. I don't even think they hit 50 shots, if I'm correct, which like is almost unheard of for a team scoring 16 goals in a game. So it's like you would almost want them to shoot more, but they necessarily didn't need to just because they were outplaying everybody else in every other department. So it just didn't work out against Canada.
Now I'm very intrigued by that guitar in your background, but we're gonna stick with talking hockey here.
Well, I'll say this. This is my family's house, but in my apartment in Toronto, I got way cooler guitars. These are like the cheap ones that from like when I was a young kid, essentially. But I've got like a 7-string guitar in Toronto. I got a 6-string bass. I record my own music and everything. All the cool looking ones are back somewhere else, unfortunately.
Well, we'll stick with hockey for this. I know you're out in Ontario, Stephen, and I want to ask about Devin Levi. I know, he didn't play in the OJ particularly. He's in the CCHL, but like, have you heard of him before? Had you known about the hype? Like, obviously he's a CJHL MVP, he's breaking records and stuff. Like, did you know about him before? What were your expectations for him coming in here?
Yeah, well, he had a fantastic World Junior A Challenge last year, and that's where it kind of really put him on the map, I'd say. But I've been able to watch a lot of CCHL, and even saw him back in midget, so I actually got to see quite a bit of him. I put together an article for my own personal website in the summer where it's like, let's look at Canada's goalie options, and I included my finalists to make the team, and I cut him. He's my first cut. I just thought, he wasn't invited to camp. I know he's good. I thought he should have been invited to the virtual camp. In the end, virtual camp didn't really matter much. And I think even last year, the goalies that were invited to camp weren't the goalies who made the team when Joe Hofer and Nico Dawes were the stars of it, and they weren't even at camp to start with. So I'd say, like for Levi, we knew he'd be good, but my biggest thing against him, and a lot of people would say the same thing, is the fact that he's not a huge goalie. He's only 6 foot, and that worked well in junior hockey. I don't know how that translates to the NHL, and that's why I think he was kind of more of a lesser known goalie, because he was drafted so late. But we've seen in the past, when he gets hot, whether it's the CCHL or the World Junior A Challenge. So he's a goalie I was very familiar with, and I was excited to see him get that opportunity. I felt bad for him because when they went into the quarantine in camp, he hadn't participated in camp at all, and they were going to make cuts right after. So my assumption was, okay, well, they've seen what the other goalies could do. They haven't seen what Levi could do. He'll be the first cut, and the rest is history.
Steven, would you make any alterations to this tournament? Because the pool for next year is almost identical to the one this year. And I mean, I'm not going to be an apologist for Canada, but they weren't tested, as Trevor Zegras said, until the final game. And I don't know, like, would you do anything else? Like, would you go with our idea of having the top 5 teams in a pool and then having the other guys in a pool to make it more competitive? Just what are your thoughts there?
I've thought about that specific scenario quite a bit, and while it might be good for a competitive side of things, you're not really getting the exposure for those smaller nations, which is kind of like a team like Austria. They're going to play Canada next year. They might lose 15-0 in that game, but that will be the biggest game of that country's basically existence at this tournament. If they're playing against Slovakia and the Czech Republic and Switzerland, that's not the same thing for the fan base back home, and they need as much exposure as possible. So I don't think people are going to be as excited in Austria to watch a game at 4 a.m. if it's against Slovakia as they would be to watch a game at 4 a.m. to watch Canada, just because it's like, holy, we just made it. We just got a chance to play against our country, or the top country in the world in hockey. So I think if you really want to do that exposure thing, which is the talking point, I think you need them playing those top teams. But we just know, just international tournaments, it's not going to be equal. So it's going to be really hard to get those close games. It's just a product of any international tournament. Even Division 1A, we get these big blowouts from time to time. So it happens. I don't think there's a perfect solution. I don't think cutting it to 8 teams is a good idea. I don't think even go to 6 teams is a good idea, because then you're not getting those more teams. I would argue you almost need 12 teams. And then you maybe have a group of 4 that play together. But I don't know if there's really an easy answer to fix the competitive balance. I think you just got to leave it as it is. And the whole point, we watch the tournaments for the medal round anyways, and that's where it's supposed to be the most competitive.
Steven, appreciate your time. You're always a fun follow come World Junior Spangler Cup time. Unfortunately, we didn't get that, but we appreciate you. We appreciate the drawings, and we appreciate you hopping on the show this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope we get the Spangler Cup back next year. I missed that big time.
Oh, we will. Thanks again.
Yes,
Stephen Ellis,
so
right there from the Hockey News Line Movement podcast writer. He does a little bit of everything. He brought up a couple of interesting points, Adam, that I want to dive into. I mean, when we kind of talk about chemistry, this was my issue with it. And I mean, I hate to pull up receipts here, but I'm going to go with her, because I had an issue with when people are saying, okay, well, wee bit of a stretch that's why America's won is because they have a better development program. Like, I mean, I've never heard of Mick Kern before, but he hosts a hockey show. And how can you say, in full honesty, that this is a bit of a stretch, that the American development program is not as good as the Canadian system? It's way better. These guys have chemistry. They know each other. They've played together for 3-4 years outside of a couple of minor changes where some late bloomers will pop in and some guys kind of fall off the map. But Canada's system clearly isn't working as well as it should. Yes, Canada is always going to pump more players to the NHL. We've got better minor hockey systems. We've got better resources. We've got more rinks. We've got more access to gear. All of that stuff comes into play. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, Adam. I want your take there, because their development program's working. They've won 4 straight golds over Canada. They've won 4 golds in the last 10, 11 years. And hey, I mean, they've won, 8, 9 medals in the past 10, 11 years? It's working.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough, right? Because last year Canada won and US finished 6th or 7th or whatever. And I mean, it's an off year. I think it's weird. I mean, we always talk about the Hockey Canada mentality and how a lot of the times that they try to push their program of excellence, right? So if a guy plays U17s and U18s, he's going to get a better look over U20s. And like you out in Western Canada here, you look at a guy like Adam Beckman, who is the WHL Player of the Year, and he barely even gets a sniff in camp, and he's sent packing. And sure enough, you look at Canada's roster, and it's all these first round picks. But as I tweeted, there wasn't really a wow factor to them. And another thing we're missing, especially on the power play, is that one shot scorer, right? Like we didn't have anything close to a Kaliev who you could just pass it to in the slot, it was a goal, or a Caulfield or something like that. And we had a lot of good players, and I mean, I think they'll be fine NHL players, but you look at the amount of times we switched the lines and the amount of times guys got cracks on the top line with Cousins and McMichael. I mean, Peltier, Quinn, Krebs, Newhook was up there a bit. Like it just, none of them stuck. And I mean, I said this from the start, like Canada, sure, they beat Germany 16-2. They had a bit of a lull against Slovakia where they only won 3-1, I guess, but they just went through stretches in the tournament where they weren't as dominant as they should have been, or it didn't look like they were clicking as they should have been. And sure enough, you get to the finals and you get shut out. And